right, and we're back. Tim, great to see you. Great to have you back.
And
And
you, David, what a week.
what a week! It just seems, just on a personal level, it just seems like a crazy productive week. Just a lot of to dos that were stressing me out, kind of that dark cloud behind your head. They're out to the clients. Oh, what a
Well
relief!
done. Excellent work.
And in the industry, it feels like there's a lot going on. I mean, just too much to cover. And ISE just ended. Enterprise Connect is around the corner. I need a rest already, but we picked one fun thing to talk about today because there's just too much to talk about, which is continue our discussion from last time. We had a great discussion about ChatGPT, and developments are already happening in our industry. Let me first share, and maybe you can help me out with this. Bring up. You shared with me. Your firm has a report.
That's right. Yeah. So you can click on the link to read it down below, but it does feel it's extremely topical at the moment. I almost feel like in the industry there's this sort of AI Cold War breaking out. It feels like the superpowers, Microsoft and Google, are sort of battling each other out because, of course, I think it threatens Google's existing business model around sponsored links with internet search. But Microsoft are doing some amazing stuff. And I feel that Google has been blindsided by the way in which Microsoft have just rolled this out, invested in ChatGPT, and are clearly, there seemed to be this rolling thunder approach with all the announcements that came out with how they're going to integrate this sort of capability with all of their various products and services.
Yeah, this is a threat, and by the way, we'll put a link in the description after the after this is done, so you can download this yourself. Um, but the one thing that Google just always has is wow, their search is so much better, and this is just a perception thing. I haven't done analytics myself. I haven't done Bing to Google head-on-head comparisons, but you know what the internet says. Google gets you what there, and people make fun of Google gets you where you want to go, and people make fun of sometimes Bing's results, whether it's fair or not. That's a perception. Google is just king of search. They've been the best at it forever, and that's their empire. And now we have this little gimmick that if Microsoft implements it right, all of a sudden Bing might become a lot more compelling and maybe knock Google search off its throne. Is it that big of a?
Potentially,
I'm not
I
overstating.
think it. Yeah, no, I think it is. But I think where Google have been blindsided is the way in which generative AI can be leveraged in an organization.
Oh,
But if you've got the amount of training data that you need to train large language models, you need to have the AI model be trained by all of your corporate data, and that does require a significant amount. I mean, to train up ChatGPT, it took 300 years worth of text to train it up to be in a position where it could generate responses based on questions and for it to come across in that communicative style. um, and unfortunately, during the week, Google tried to respond with Bard. They sort of led their Paris event, their live stream event, with and rightly so, talking about their prowess and their engineering resources and the way in which they've leveraged AI in the past. But unfortunately, the demo, they weren't praying enough or making enough sacrifices to the demo gods.
hmm.
It didn't come across in a favorable way. And the response that Bard came out with was very wrong. And it was reflected in the share price. It was that much of a big deal. I think it wiped something like, is it $100 billion, a staggering amount of money
I thought it was a
off their share
typo
price.
when I read it. I'm like,
I
is that
did.
this? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the mistake was it was the same kind of mistake we see in Chat GPT all the time. It's a factual mistake, and it says it confidently because it sounds like it's a person talking. And it was something about it was an image from the Hubble telescope, and it said it was the first image that ever showed planets around another star that isn't ours from so far away. And on Twitter, a bunch of astrophysicists are like, "Oh, here's a picture I took. Yeah, here's a picture that my team took. Here's a picture that there had been a lot before, so it was a mistake." And I mean, it's the first demo. It's just a mistake, and the whole point of this technology is getting the facts right is a separate thing. We were talking before we started the stream when we were just chatting. Um, you know, we've had AI for years, and we should talk more about that. But this is just all this is doing is it making it sound like a person. It's not making the search better. This isn't going to change what facts Google search comes up with, or what facts
Yeah.
comes up with. Just instead of giving you a list of websites, it's going to sound like a person saying, "Oh, here's the answer to your question, and here's the links to the websites that support it." It's all about a much better way to get the information. It's not about the information being more accurate. But wow, you have that has to be the biggest demo flop. That's worse when remember when Elon Musk showed his super truck and he said the windows aren't
Oh, dear.
shatterable and the windows just smashed.
Well, I was pleased for that because in an emergency, you want to get out of a truck. Windows are a
Yeah.
good way to get out. But yeah, no, exactly. And in the interest of balance, our team, David Myron, a very talented analyst that I work alongside, he sort of typed in a question around baseball cards and Michael Jordan, and ChatGPT came out with some very different responses and erroneous responses. And of course, the problem is here. Um, they can generate incorrect information alarmingly in a plausible way and with confidence, and it sounds
Yes.
like a confident and viable response. Of course, it's only as good as the data that it's fed with, and if that's erroneous, then it's likely to introduce a number of problems. And if you're going out to customers with erroneous data that sounds plausible, you could open yourself up to all sorts of problems. So I think the corporate lawyers are going to be very concerned about some of the implications of AI technology. And of course, how is that model going to be trained? Where's that data going to be stored? Is it going to be encrypted? Of course, it will be somewhere. Where does it reside? Who owns it? It's, we're only scraping the surface of a very interesting technology, but we're opening up cans of worms here. So it'll be interesting to
Yes.
see how this gets adopted in mainstream.
I think a lot of us who are working with it don't really understand completely what it is, and there's going to be a lot of fumbles and a lot of crazy stories out there. I think it's funny, and this is I love when things just fall into the memes, fall into the stereotypes. The Google approach and the Microsoft approach to this has been so Google and so Microsoft. Google's like, we're going to come out with our own thing, and we're going to call it Bard, which is actually a pretty cool name. And either it's going to be amazing or everyone's going to make fun of it for the next 20 years. That's what
Yeah.
happens with the Googles. And
Well,
Microsoft is like,
I've
Microsoft's approach
I've
is ChatGPT good. We take ChatGPT and put ChatGPT in Bing. I mean, this work we use.
and I've
It's
seen some
Microsoft.
really funny. I've seen some really funny memes with Clippy 2.0. Remember Clippy?
I
That
do
it sort
remember
of
Clippy.
looks like you're writing a resignation, or looks like you're writing a resume or something, and it sort of went off and sparked up a template. But yeah, there's some really interesting things that it can do. I mean, I've absolutely no doubt that at Microsoft keynote at Enterprise Connect, gazing into
Oh
my
yeah.
crystal ball and preempting what's going to happen, we're going to see Chat GPT and intelligent recap on meeting summaries. So I have no doubt that your meeting transcription will be fed into Chat GPT, and you'll get a summary of what it was, and some capturing of tasks, and perhaps surfacing some relevant files that you need to look at. I have absolutely no doubt that. Well, we'll see. I might I might have completely got the wrong end of the stick, but I
No,
wouldn't be
I
at all
I
surprised
would
if
bet
that's
on
going
it.
to be a keynote feature.
Are Microsoft and Google both keynoting? Because that would be interesting if they both led with
I
this.
th- I'm not sure Google are. I'll have to double check. I should know. It's our parent company's event. But yeah, I know that Microsoft certainly are. I know that Cisco are. I know that RingCentral are. But being able to surface that information in real time is going to be a real productivity boon. I think that's really going to it's really going to pay dividends. Of course, whether or not it's going to tempt customers to pay the extra $10 per user per month for a Microsoft Teams Pro license, I don't know. And I know that Microsoft's under increasing pressure to increase the ARPU, the average price, the average revenue per user there. So all of this is linked, but the way in which there seems to be this rolling thunder campaign from Microsoft marketing to sort of add GPT to absolutely everything, whether or not it's Synax, or whether or not it's Viva Engage or Microsoft Teams. I mean, it's being peppered through their portfolio all over the place. It's going to surface everywhere.
It's amazing how the discussion changed in the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, I brought up Chat GPT on the string on the screen here, and we did a couple searches ourselves to see how it worked, and we talked about possible uses and this new thing. And 2 weeks later, we have Microsoft and Google, two of the deepest pocketed companies that ever existed, going heavy and hard on this. I mean, all of a sudden it went from, oh, this is a cool new toy, to tens and tens of billions of dollars are already being spent on it. This is, I mean, has there ever been something so quick to just blow up like this? This is the huddle room thing wasn't as big as this. I'm thinking other
No.
trends in our industry.
The other trends, I think, was probably the move from digital PBXs to IP PBXs, and then from IP PBXs to UCAS. I mean, all of these are very big leaps forward in technology. But in the same way,
This is
the
so much
steam engine,
sexier, though.
it
It
is.
just is.
And you think back to, I don't know, Industrial Revolution, steam engines. They were originally used to pump out water from flooded mines, and then some bright spark decided to put it on a railway, and before you knew it, that railways took off. So I've no doubt that we're only seeing some initial thoughts around how this can be implemented, and I've no doubt 5 years from now we'll be seeing some very different use cases.
It's so fun. I'm always so, I'm a big drama queen. I'm always worried that I'm always overstating and making too big of a thing. And you literally just had to go back to the steam engine. You went back to the steam engine to come up with something comparable to the impact that this might have. So this time I'm not. I don't think I'm over dramatizing it.
Yeah, and I think what we found in the economy and in enterprises in general is this difficulty to unlock potential and to surface organizational and institutional knowledge. So I'm not so concerned about AI taking people's jobs. I think what it will allow us to do is to take away some of those mundane tasks that we have to do. So
Hopefully.
organizing calendar appointments, task management, doing all that sort of thing. And I have a feeling that the likes of Zoom and Ring Central and other people in that industry will respond. I think they'll be going through Crunchbase, looking for anyone that's got .ai at the end of their name, going in and speaking with them and looking at ways in which they can simplify calendar requests or apply AI to moving calendars about. And of course, with Zoom, that's really interesting. They've recently announced about moving into the mail space and the calendar space. You can sort of look at ways and perhaps preempt some sort of areas that AI could help them in those sorts of situations.
Imagine how
So
much
it's
better our
really,
spam filters would be if they had good AI behind them.
oh yeah, or even simple things, David. I mean, the number of emails I get back and forth saying, can you make this appointment on Tuesday? Can you make this time on a Wednesday? And it goes out to 6 people, and you get multitude of responses saying, well, I can't make Tuesday, but I can make Thursday. Now, Microsoft's come out with some interesting technology with Find Time, Microsoft Bookings. They even used Cortana AI to sort of read in an email to sort of suggest mutual times, but they haven't really pulled it off. I'm hoping that they can with this. Yeah, it can be better. And of course, the likes of other vendors, I have no doubt they'll be looking at those use cases and thinking this is a natural fit. So really exciting, I think.
Yeah, that touches on something you brought up before we started the stream. I was setting up behind the scenes. This isn't the start of AI. We've been using AI for quite a while. This is the start. The only thing that's new is now the AI doesn't sound like a robot. It sounds like a person. Now the AI is easier to use and more comfortable to use because it's like it's always been in the science fiction movies. It's talking to, computer, do this for me. And is that a computer or is that a person? It really knows what I'm talking about and responds to me like a person. But we've been using AI for so many things, well, not so many years, but for several years now.
Yeah, I mean, look, things like video blur and video backgrounds, like you're demonstrating here, David, intelligent video framing, noise cancellation, closed captioning, meeting transcripts, all of those are AI capabilities.
That we
I
take
think
for granted at
exactly.
this point.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. I think the fact that it's generative is the big one. The way in which it can take the text and then, create this conversational style on the stuff that it's learned from is the way in which it sort of sprung to the fore and has become. I go to lunch, with friends that aren't in this industry, and they're all sort of talking about ChatGPT in the UK. It even came up on a very political discussion called Question Time last night. It's been in the news. It really is a hot topic at the moment.
Oh yeah, it's all not all anyone's talking about, but it's and I touched upon this before, but it's just blowing my mind how quickly it went from everyone's talking about it to Google and Microsoft are investing billions in it. Um,
It's a big face-off, isn't there, at the moment? It'd be interesting to see what happens. I mean, if it can move the needle on a share price based on a poor demo, it's got shareholders worried and Wall Street worried. It's interesting, very interesting.
well, anything else we should touch upon, or should we wrap it up? I'll be sure to put the link for that report that we shared in the description of the video.
Thank you, David. I mean, I guess the only one real thing that stands out here is that for generative AI to be meaningful, you've got to really train it on huge data sets. So, for example, ChatGPT, as I said, 300 years of text, it was 45 terabytes of data. So you've got to be a very big enterprise to train an algorithm to become conversationally aware or to offer anything meaningful. So I think that's going to be the challenge. Enterprises think this is fantastic, but you're trying to teach a digital baby to learn and interpret data and speak for itself. It's going to take an awful lot of data, and 45 terabytes was what was used to train ChatGPT on to make it, conversationally aware. I guess I'm trying to think of a way,
No, yeah,
to,
no,
to
I
to
know
make it be
this.
able to talk in a conversational style.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and a lot of people, they see that stat and they say, oh, all those terabytes of data. Oh, that's all the stuff it knows. That's all the data it knows. No, no, no. Again, it's not Google. It's not finding you information. That's just learning how to talk. That's
yeah.
just that's like teaching a baby how to talk. It took that much information to teach it how to talk and not sound like a baby, sound like a person. It's unbelievable. And
So
it's
yeah, we're in the early stages. Awful lot of hype. We'll see how successful things go. It's got to be trained up on domain specific stuff. I mean, can you imagine it in our industry? Even on closed captions and transcripts, when we talk about unified communications and say UC, all of the closed captioning and transcripts take that as YOUSEE. So you need to have that domain specific knowledge to know that when we talk about UC, we're not sort of
yes.
saying, oh, UC, it's unified communications. So that imagine that in a medical setting, all of the acronyms that you use there, it's got a lot of learning to do. So very excited about it.
No, I just
It's
imagine the
certainly got its.
potential, for something like this. If we had, if I could end this meeting and say to my whatever it is, my chat GPT, my bot, my personal assistant in human language, hey, that video I just recorded, that live stream I just recorded with Tim. I love the discussion we had in the middle. We were talking about the Google thing. Clip that and put it on Twitter for me,
Yeah.
and have it,
That,
and it can come back to me and say, I'm not sure which you talked about Google a few times. Was it when it said you this or when you said that? I mean, like a real person. That's that's a couple hours worth of editing and clipping and sharing and manual work that I do after every stream, and it really
yeah.
could just be a like talking to a person and telling them to do it.
Yeah, so I'm not so, and I think I'm not too worried about. I'm not going to be like the Tolpuddle. Is it not the Tolpuddle Mafia? Sorry, the Luddites, wasn't it, that went around breaking
Oh yes.
equipment because they were worried about losing their jobs. I'm not going to go around sort of ripping out cables in Google and Microsoft's data centers because I'm worried about losing my job. But what I am encouraged by is it means that I can. It gives me the thinking space that I need during the day to be more productive rather than dealing with all those mundane tasks. So yeah, it's a brave new world. We'll see how it develops, and I have no doubt it'll be heavily focused and talked about at Enterprise Connect.
Yeah, I love the fact that our little industry is like a big part of this big thing. This is pretty cool for us. Um, Definitely looking forward to seeing what how big of you know, how big this is at Enterprise Connect, how much a part of Enterprise Connect this particular topic is.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right. With that, always great to see you. We'll be back, you know, schedules permitting, in 2 weeks. And questions in the comments, please like and follow.
Thank you,
Take care.
David. Thanks.